Good morning, everyone. My topic today is the environment has the close interrelation, has a close interaction with the butterfly diversity. So I want to find something if the environment can contribute to the butterfly diversity. So before I talk about this topic, butterfly has a great interaction with us, such as our daily clothes may be designed from the butterfly, and also we may get a better attention when we wear butterfly this so attractive dress. And butterfly of the world has many species, and this is just a part of it, and all the species cannot be shown in this picture. So do you think that why butterfly has so much diversity, and how the environment make their diversity so wide, and how their habitat can help them to make a big diversity? So I want to talk about why I choose this topic. It's known that the butterfly has great contribution to the environment, such as the pollination. It helps their host plant to maintain their existence and make their host plant abundant in that particular area, and help the host plant to produce their offspring. And to study the relationship between the butterfly and the environment, we can look at the ecology. Ecology is the interaction between organisms and the interaction between the organisms and the environment. So we have looked at butterfly has interaction with the plant and with their host plant, and so it is the first point. So I want to know how the environment affect the butterfly diversity, which is the interaction of the second interaction between the living thing and the environment. So the butterfly contribute to the environment and the host plant and the host plant, so they can have more offspring. So how does this part contribute to the butterfly? And this is my journal reference. And in the journals, this tells about the latitudinal gradient, which is once believed that the species of butterfly is more rich in the trophic area and less in the upper part. This is because it's once believed that the heat and energy contribute to the butterfly diversity. So the tropic area has a hotter and more energy, so the diversity will be greater. But it's not the whole story. There is also some other effect contribute to this phenomenon. And the journal mentioned that there are three factors contribute to the great diversity. The first is the energy mentioned before, and the climate, which control the energy of that particular region. And the most important and direct factor is the plant species, the host plant species, which is the land cover and habitat heterogeneity. And the climate including temperature, rainfall, and humidity, control the plant species living there. So climate is an indirect factor, but the direct factor is the host plant species present in that particular area. But host plant, the number of host plant species is not the only factor. We also need to we also need to look at the host plant biomass and their density. So which means that the richness. So for example, there are many host plant species in that area, but the number is not enough. So there is interspecific competition of the butterfly, and they will not reproduce well and have a great number. So we also consider the host plant biomass. So if the host plant are suitable for the butterfly and it also have a great biomass, then there will be a wide diversity of butterfly. So as mentioned before, when we consider a diversity of a species, we need to consider its interspecific competition and the diversity of their resources. So, besides the number of species of host plant, the abundance of host plant is also an important factor to determine the butterfly diversity. So how does the research find this result? The method is it is conducted in Canada, and it's use the grid reference system to separate different area in the Canada. And what did they done in that particular area? They have environmental measure and biodiversity measure. The environmental measurements is measure the evapotranspiration, the solar radiation, which is related to the climate, to see if the climate have interaction with the diversity. And then the land cover ability, which means the abundance of plant species, if there is a large number of host plant living there. And the land cover classification, which means the number of species. And this is a magic sensor. So and use this sensor can call spot SPOT, can find the number of species in that particular area. And for the biodiversity measurement, it records the number of butterflies in the grid, in the square, and for sampling intensity. So the result for this research showing that, as shown in this diagram, the land cover classes, the more classes of land in that portrait, there will be a larger butterfly species, larger number of butterfly species. And so the scientists conclude that the vegetation land cover classes is the best environmental predictor for the butterfly species. Which means that, to say, there is more vegetation species and there will be more butterfly species. So in my conclusion, the butterfly diversity can be increased by two factors. The one is their host plants, more host plant species, and the other is the abundance of these host plant species. And lastly, I have a flow chart to conclude the interaction between the butterfly and the host plant. So if a place have many host plant, and that here have many host plant, there will be more particular butterfly because they have many resources and do not need to compete with each other. And they can reproduce more, and their population will increase. So they will have larger number of butterflies to help the host plant for pollination, and the host plant then can increase their population. The host plant can also increase their population. And when there is many host plant, the butterfly will have less competition, and there may be other butterfly which originally less competitive, and they can also get the resources for their growth. So there may be growth of other butterfly species. So there will be more butterfly species, and then it's come back to contribute to the host plant and return to the start of the cycle. Thank you. This is end of my presentation.